while I was growing up, I didn't have this fancy kind of a childhood, right? So I think it was a really struggle in terms of like education and financial sort of a thing. So when I looked at these kids, right, I felt the same thing about them, right? So I wanted them to understand that it doesn't matter where you come from, but once you really work hard, things will change for you, because that's what I did for myself. How do you really talk to someone, or how do you really put up your views, or how do you give your perspective? I used to be really scared. And I feel that school is also really important to develop that kind of an experience and that kind of a holistic development towards other kids also, right? That's the responsibility of the teacher in the school. I didn't see that happening for myself. So when I entered the fellowship, I was very sure about the fact that I would focus on this lens as well. I wanted them to be confident. I wanted them to express themselves, like it didn't matter if they were right or wrong, but I wanted them to stand up and say out their opinions out loud. I came inside because I wanted to make a difference, difference not only me, but then also to the kids whom I teach, and I couldn't see that happen for them. They were like writing and reading, but then what more to that, how did they realize that they're capable of so many things? They were like, big bullies and people who were really creating a mess at the one end of the class, and there were other people inside the class who really wanted to learn. They used to tell me, "Bhaiya, teach us, we are there. You don't have to fear anything, we'll learn, but you just have to be there for us and we'll be there for you." Then I started making my classes more interesting in terms of more group work in the class, right? And more activities in the class, more like thinking questions and just working with the peers. And then I started to give them a little bit of freedom inside the class as well, as to like however they want to sit. They were okay. I was okay with that. I was okay with the volume level also. Okay. And then I used to go for like home visit also. And I knew the parents. I used to talk to them about the kind of behavior, the behavior shift that is happening. And they started to understand that Bhaiya really appreciates our work. Now I was not running out of the class and asking for help. Now I was like, I know this is my class and I can actually handle the kids because I know them. Okay, now I'm at a space to let it go and let the kids be on their own. And then I started to talk to them about, like you should be able to solve your own problems, I'm not going to be there every single day. And then they come up with things like the socialist body, democratic body, like secular body inside the class. And then the vision started coming alive in the class in terms of independent learners and being able to stand up for themselves. The kids used to get really hurt when, other people used to tease them using their father's profession or their mother's name, and that would really break the concentration inside the class. And because of that, I was not being able to teach in the initial, like months. It was a chaos. So I used to tell them like, what time do I sleep? How much do I work hard? How much do I need to plan? So that I can come here and execute. So I used to tell them all, like small to big problems. And I think that's how they resonated, like, okay, Bhaiya is doing so much for us. Why not we also, like give our best? So values part would definitely come out strong from the kind of lessons that I took, okay? I had this entire unit designed on justice, fair play, and like a destiny. Okay, so we came up with a theme like a child labor, Is it fair for, other kids to, like work as child laborers in houses or factories? So that really culminated into a performance task where, they went ahead and they wrote a speech about, if you were a child, how would you feel? Like if you are the parent, like how would you go about, why would you let your kid work? If you are the owner of the restaurant or something like that, why do you let kids work in that space? So I think they got really aware about, the things that happens in the community and, like how they can really, stop. I don't want them to think that when they grow up, they cannot, they cannot go out of the community. They cannot do something with their life. So I took this theme destiny all over again, then I focused on, the people who have really worked hard in shaping their destiny. So we talked about, like Dhirubhai Ambani. And then we got people from the community, like who have been in similar situation like my kids are, and how have they really evolved and they have turned into a lawyer or a doctor, or a teacher or a PhD holder or a soldier. So they came and they spoke about their journey, which really left the kids inspired, right? And by the end of the unit, they wrote a speech on, like if after 20 years someone calls me to this school, how would, they be giving these speeches, what would they put in this speech? So someone told me they want to be a dancer, right? So it might change later on, okay? That's not certain, it might change, but then the person will really learn how to focus towards that goal, how ambitious you need to be or, how hard you need to work. So that's when I realized that, when you walk inside the class, executing the lesson plan is not enough. You really have to connect to them. You really have to listen to what they're saying. And you really have to let go sometimes of the lesson as well. If there is a very beautiful discussion going on inside the class about how they're really feeling about things that's going back at the home, like if they've had a really bad day at home and if they want to come back to the class and share, I should be okay with that as well, because that is also a part of teaching, you know. The parents are invested enough, you know, like, but at a very surface level, okay, they know that the kid should go, we should be able to read and write and come up with good marks, but there is no like enough support when they go back home. I went for a normal community visit, so I was like, you just first have your snacks and then we'll go out, you know. I saw him eating only the plain rice, and there was no vegetable with that, there was no dal, there was nothing, just that plain rice and water. So, and his mother is not there anymore, his father goes to the work and the sister is still studying, so there was no one at home, and that's how he was taking care of himself, you know. He was okay with the things that he had, you know, like, I mean, that was really emotional for me. Like, I couldn't think that, you know, there are kids inside the class who actually, you know, go back home to this. I remember this kid coming inside the class who was really beaten up by her father, and there were bruises all over the, you know, like all over the face and the hand. But then she came to the class, you know, she showed that interest towards, you know, the studies. So we have counselors really talking to them and really trying to know about, you know, what's the problem, why is the relationship like that, you know, with the parents, or how do the parents really treat you. And not only with the student, the counselor also talks with the parents in sort of like, they take sessions with the parents, okay. The kind of surrounding that they come from, right? They're like many kids who are dropout, they don't go to school, you know, they're there in the community hanging all day around. And some of my kids also, you know, like they go out from the school and they go and hang out with them, and that's how they learn things, you know, like which they're not supposed to, and they get it back to the class, right? So again here, the reflection, the tool of reflection that we're using to make them critical thinkers, that is also really, you know, helping. They talk about the choices, you know, the right choices that they should be making. They talk about honesty. They talk about, you know, why is it important to respect each other, right? So these are some of the things that come out really strong inside the classroom, which makes me believe that even if I go after 2 years, my class will still be at a good place, and my students will still be, you know, they've still imbibed the things that I've taught them, and they'll use it in the future as well. I'm also proud of the fact that how kids come up with their own clubs, right? Some of them have a football club, so, you know, which they run on their own, right? It happens every Friday. And few of the kids go back to the garden, they work in the GP, okay? So that's really independent right now, okay? And they're doing really well with that. The vision of independent learning, right? Reflection, you know, the access and exposure part, it'll still be there from the school side. I don't know if a new fellow will be coming next year or not, but then the HM, you know, the entire school structure will still be working with the kids on the same lens that I have worked on, you know, previously. Though I taught in second grade in the institute, and when I came to the school I got like 5th and 6th, but then the staff and the, you know, the leadership team, they were like so warm, and they really helped me with, you know, like setting in really quickly with the pedagogical part. When I first stepped inside, I used to be like, you know, a very restless person, you know, like wanting to do things right there and then. I wanted the outcomes right there and then, you know. Initially, I never used to celebrate a lot because I was really critical about, you know, things. I used to feel like things are not up to the mark. But then I really felt that it's very important for them to celebrate, because when I used to ask them about your classroom, they used to come up with the negatives. I was not celebrating small successes. I was not celebrating the joy. You know, I was not celebrating of the fact that someone has learned to sit inside the classroom. I was not celebrating the fact that, you know, someone has learned to manage his anger. So, you know, but when I started to do that, they felt accepted, and they felt like, you know, okay, there is someone whom we can go and talk about. There's someone, you know, who really cares about us. I came in with, you know, a lot of honesty towards the work, you know, that I was doing, and that has stayed with me, you know, throughout the 2 years of fellowship. That has not gone anywhere. I was also of the view that, you know, no matter what happens in the 2-year fellowship, I will try as many things as possible, which will help me gain so much of exposure that I can bring it back to the classroom and give it to the kids as well. Because I always believe that, you know, you cannot just learn from this set of curriculum that's given to you. You need to have, you know, a certain amount of exposure as a fellow as well. So through the FA role, when I used to, you know, work with other first year fellows, I used to feel really happy when, you know, things used to go really good inside the class. For the years to come, I'm really thinking about how can I really help people meet their potential. There is a spark in each and every one, right? It just, sometimes you just requires like a person who will really come in, who will really push you, and who will really show that, you know, belief in you. I see myself doing that for other people as well, you know, the people who really want to work in this field, the people who really want to make a difference. This is an experience which everyone should have, you know, once in a lifetime, because it teaches you a lot about yourself, you know. You are there inside the class to make a difference, but you don't realize the kind of difference that is making, to your life. You will fall at certain point of time, but there are also people who are right there, to support you.